All right, let's get started. Meanwhile, joining. All right, so this is a topic I've been preparing for a while. It's also one of the practices we've been doing at some of the customers, and it's personally speaking, one of my favorite topic as well. In terms of not only technological point of view, in terms of any specific technology per se, but it is much more the way how we work as a team. So let me move to somewhere more quiet. Give me a sec. So one of the methodologies that we use quite often is the so-called the pair programming. And today we will introduce a couple of aspects of the pair programming. It is a practice, doesn't have like per definition the hard rules you need to follow, but there are several topics of the recommendation we would like to get our knowledge shared. It's also based on the project we'll be building as a team. We worked at the customers, and it's purely also based on the team experience. So let's get started. Okay. First, I would like to get into a very common areas of the problems we would like to analyze. So this is one of the typical problems we call, the fight of the editor's background, whether you are the fan of white background or you are the favor of the dark backgrounds. When you are working in the team, you often face these type of discussions as well. Like you are using white background, and I'm not really used to it. And it is not the right choice or wrong choice, but it is a personal choice, right? When you work in the team, and often you face this kind of realities. Another type of realities is pull request fights, right? And the pull request reviews messages often came across really unclear, and people even don't know. And such as this example that people say like, what exactly this guy's been doing, right? This is the moment you even don't understand what's the point of the people making regarding to your code. Another thing is about how you collaboratively writing code together, and your code can be maintained properly. It came across with the practice, but it came across also with the mindset. There's a famous code of always write code that you think the next one gonna pick it up is a psychopath, because then you make sure that your code is understandable and clear and clean for everyone to maintain. Another thing is about you always have your favorite way of writing code, the coding style, design patterns that you believe and you get used to and you believe is the correct one to adopt. And where others might have a different view. Who is right, who is wrong, what's the way to tackle it? This remains the discussion. So in the end, you are not working silo. You're working a project that involves a lot of team members. You're working with others on day-to-day business. You exchange knowledge. You learn from others. In the end, there's human interaction with it. So there should be a methodology allows to make things smoother. And one of the methodologies that is a part of the extreme programming as well is called pair programming. In the end, pair programming is not a set of rules that you follow and that's it. In a nutshell, what the pair programming is meant for is define the way how we work together and how we work together and efficiently. There's a simple setup rules how you do pair programming. It's also a misperception for a lot of people. They think pair programming is one person writing code, another one sitting next to him or her and watch. That's definitely not the right approach. Pair programming consists also a right physical setup. You need a large desk to could fit two people easily, where you sit next to each other, not in front of each other. Two keyboards, two mouse, two monitors, connecting to one laptop. You can choose one or another laptop from yours or from your colleagues. That really doesn't matter. But it comes a challenge because your colleague loves the white background, as we see in the previous slides. And your colleagues use different editors, different than yours, but you're all working in the same team. And suddenly you find out, I've known this guy for 10 years already. It's for the first time we're working together, right? So there are a lot of practices and things where you need to put in place to solve these invisible struggles, which you never faced before. To be able to achieve the simple setup, you should have multi-connectors cables. It enables you to connect easily and a quicker way to the devices you want to have. And then in case like what we are now, working remotely, making sure you have a good network setting, allows you to pair program and make sure you have proper tooling that allows you to share your screen, such as what we are using now. One of the tools that we recommend, Zoom. And this gives you both the control of the environments which you are working on. So how these can be organized? We talked about this simple setup in terms of device and physical settings. Pair programming typically needs a certain organization and also mindset alignments within the team. So we recommend that typically after daily stand-up, engineering team will decide between them within the project team who is going to pair program with who. It's tremendously important because we recommend people to rotate the pairs in regular basis, in often written. So you get to know each other and from everyone within the team. And the Parrot is one of the tools that you can use within your team to choosing for these purposes. And we recommend to do it on a daily basis. Second is the recurring topic about we have a team of mixed skills. I'm backend, I end up working on the backend engineering topic. No, that's not really the truth. Pair programming is really mixing up across competencies. People coming from different fields. You are a subject domain expert of certain domain, but you certainly are not subject matter expert of the domain that the person who is pairing with. And it also applies for levels. You could be senior, juniors, etc. So mixing up, that's the definition of a full stack engineering. In long term, you will learn from others, learn the best practice from subject matter experts. Here comes again to the first topic, how you organize your day-to-day activity, how you choose the pair smartly, so that you still keeping your domain expertise while it establish a fast, smooth knowledge sharing session. And then really importantly, the quality is followed. The practice to ensure quality is followed as one of the things as we always emphasize, test-driven development. And the CI/CD, right? We always keep emphasizing about my code needs to be reflected and deployed as long as it's committed to approve the changes and go through the pipeline, get deployed. In reality, it never happens. So then you get now challenge someone also challenge you when you are pair programming. So in long term, you start establishing these practices. Every single commit gets pushed to the repo and go through the whole CI/CD pipeline. So how you apply pair programming between you and your pair? One of the approaches is very commonly used is the role called drivers and navigators. Driver is who is the person for time being in control of the keyboard. Navigator is the one navigating through the task you are working on. So it's really combined and joined the effort of pair programming. In this case, it doesn't necessarily mean you only have one keyboard, but someone is in control of the editor where the code is being written. So how you can achieve that by working together is first define really well-defined tasks. The task must be small enough, tiny enough, setting the goals clear, can be tested and written down in the clear notes so that you know in this short time frame what you and your pair is working on, and make the task as small as possible so you can achieve quickly and get into the next task. Second is switching keyboards regularly and switching the role regularly. Here we have a driver who writes the code and navigator who is putting the thought on the table. So proactively switching the role between you and your pair keeps the participation on the energy level really, really high. And also allows you to think in different roles. When you're writing code, you are really focused. When you step away and putting your thought in on the table, suddenly your brain works differently. And then if you start iteratively switching, makes the rational thinking in a very quick manner, in a way more complete way. As a navigator, you leave the detail of the coding to the driver. Your job is really complement your pair's more tactical way of thinking in the middle term to achieve this task. By means of providing advices. You often also see that whether you're working alone or you are pair programming or working with a group, the discussions often builds up quite to a larger scale. And it often results that you couldn't keep yourself focused. So don't think about the next step for now. Park the next step away, solve what's the problem you are solving now. That's why you need to start with a really reasonably well-defined task, small enough you can achieve quickly, so that you can get into the next step. A second one is how to apply TDD properly. When you are working alone, you can also do the ping-pong process, red-green refactor, as we know the best practice of clean code. Now, when you are pair programming, you make it even more interactive. One developer writes a failing test because you start with the test, and then followed by another developer in the pair writing implementation to make it a pass, make it a green. Again, then the same developer picks up a next role, which is writing the failing test, and so on and so forth. Every iteration can follow by refactoring code together. That's also another approach when you are changing an existing code. So it's not necessary you need to start a vanilla code so that you can pair programming. It's tremendously important and very useful and efficient for people who are trying to refactor an existing code. Now, sharing a couple of personal experience of do's and don'ts when you are working in pair. As mentioned earlier, never make as a setup that one person's coding, another person keep watching. So follow the simple setup in slide 4. In case of remote pairing, turn on your camera on. You are pairing, but the setup makes you as if you are working alone, because you look at your screen, you look at the editor, and the only difference is someone else is also contributing simultaneously. Don't jump, never jump immediately into coding. That's actually the recommendation also if you are working alone. Think first what's the problem you are trying to solve, and brainstorm the potential solutions and define the steps. Maybe the problem is too big. Divide and conquer. Find and define and refine the problem into sub-problems so you can solve faster, stand alone in an isolated way so you can write unit tests to achieve, and then push the code through the whole CI/CD pipeline quickly. So you see the effect, and emotionally makes you way happier. If you solve 10 problems per day, then you're solving 1 problem by the end of the day. Never skip the best practice. TDD is just one of them, right? Code guidelines which your teams defines, and all the other best practices of your programming language and framework, don't skip. Pair programming is not being speeding up, rushing up things that you can skip best practices. Follow the financial down. It's not only TDD, it is looking at the story acceptance criteria. Is it clear enough? Let me see. Someone put a chat. Oh, okay. So let's jump to the next one. Another bad practice is you don't switch pair often. So you end up working with the same person all the time. It will build a really unhealthy knowledge gap that you won't be able to get from other team members. Pair rotation, use parrots. Every day after stand up, you discuss with the team whether you wanted to remain the current pair to solve the problem, which you guys have been solving already since yesterday. You are 99% almost done. Then in that case, switching pair might not be reasonable. Or it's reasonable, it depends your choice. But if you are freshly starting a new story, think about pair with someone you haven't worked over the last few days, and parrot allows you to automatically switch in the pair as well. Drifting parts. This is an area that we need to pay a lot of attention. It's when you are pairing, it's quite an intensive exercise. You need to keep yourself aware that it's a whole day pairing. It's quite energy focus needed from you as a person, and need a lot of attention from you towards your pair. So leave your cell phone away, turn off your emails, turn off the Slack. Things that distract you needs kept away. And don't drift to your mind. When you are discussing with the people about a potential solution for the problem, don't lose your focus. Otherwise, you need to restart again, which will not be nice, and will be a lot of energy drain for the people who you're pairing with. Keeping focus. If until certain moments that you feel, hey, but it's really intensive, take a break, right? Take a short break, and you gotta take coffee, but short break, and then come back with a fresh mind. Also avoid the micromanagement model, right? There's no only one right way to do things. Maybe it's the one right way for you, not the wrong right way for the rest of the world. Be very open, and also try to be really good listener before you put any thought in place. It is a often observation we see when seniors are pairing with the juniors. If the juniors is not proactive enough or open enough, or the pairs communication are not well built, it often happens that someone is following others' recommendation all the time. Not necessarily a bad thing, because you allow the juniors to learn from the seniors, but you miss the chance that someone put a second opinion on the same topic. So keep really open-minded. There's not the right way. Maybe there is one, the right way you follow, but not the only one. Impatient, right? That's another topic we see. A lot of people had already in mind, because I've done this before. I have a solution in my mind, let me put it in. If you are in the navigator, be patient, put your thoughts, give advices to the driver. Or if you are doing ping pong processes, or if you are not following this practice, but just coding together, be patient and be good listener, and being open for the suggestion from the other person who is pairing with you. Always be kind. So the communication needs to be thoroughly established. Pair programming is really strengthens the way of working within the team. It's not introducing a new technology. It's not introducing tools. It's not introducing programming languages or frameworks. Pair programming only creates the safe environment and space so you can decently communicate with others and establish the way, the style, how you work with others. And the last one, keyboard hogging. So that's also, you see other type of people that they keep being the driver. Oh yeah, well, I'll continue with this. Oh, I continue with that one. And you lose the momentum. You lose the rhythm of working with others. So if your pair acts that way, remind him or her. If yourself being acting like that way, remind yourself as well. So it's really important, if possible, end of day when you're pairing with other people, take a small moment by the end of the day before you go or closing the day, that you discuss what things went well, when things you want to change. And for those things you want to change, put an effective plan in place. As the next moment when you pair with the person, put those changes in place. It could be the communication, could be the coding style, could be the IDE you use, could be the best practice not being followed, right? So all the topics, you need to thought about it, but it's being reflected during the day when you work with a person, naturally speaking. So having said that, this is the last slide. So I will enable all of you for questions and answers. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that pairs should be mixed.
Yes.
I understand that different levels of developers should be mixed, but to be honest, I cannot understand how people with different skills like front-end and back-end can be mixed together.
Yeah.
I don't think they are able to work on one task together, for example.
Why you think they are not? That's the first question.
Well, because usually front-end and back-end tasks, front-end and back-end developers works separately and have some kind of different tools, different languages, and different technologies.
Yeah.
For example, front-end guy cannot understand Java language, which I use.
But that's your perception, or it's a feedback you get from the people. Darman?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you're on mute. It's your perception only, or it's a experience you had before?
Well, I didn't do pair programming before.
Okay.
So I'm not sure is it work or not. Does it work?
Yeah. My advice is give a try. Give a try in a very safe environment. So I can understand your question, and it's a recurring question from everyone. Then a lot of people don't believe that front end and back end would work together in a pair. And what happens is all depends on how you pair with each other and how well the story is being defined. Because if you are capable to learn a backend language, you can certainly be able to learn another type of language because you are engineer and you are not only Java engineer.
Oh, I agree with this.
Yes.
But
So you need a proper setup, and the setup allows people can freely communicate first. It's not about, oh, I don't know that language, or I think that person doesn't know. So then you need to start with a coaching mode. So when you pick up a task, again, think about the solution you want to solve. And the person who is not a subject matter expert, let's say you are pairing with a front-end engineer who is very into JavaScript language. They never worked with Java, right? At the early stage, for sure, it will be slowing down the development velocity because the whole knowledge sharing across the team needs to build up. But it buys over time that people feel comfortable enough because they know the context where they're working on. Being an engineer, that's also a agility that's the pair programming introduced, that letting people to learn, that they can easily adopt coaching from others. So my recommendation is don't be afraid if you are pairing with a front-end engineer that you don't know from JavaScript, or you being a front-end engineer if you are pairing with a DevOps or backender that you are not familiar with the framework and language, because that's exactly we want to create a so-called safe environment. We want you guys to start learning. with the subject matter experts. That's also how we learn our own domain languages as our main expertise, right? So if I ask my experience, we had a great experience at the Rabobank InnoHub. And we have mobile engineers now knows DevOps of Amazon Web Services, knows the backend, Kotlin and Java. We have backend engineers has paired for a long time with mobile engineers that learned iOS and Android, right? And as well as hybrid solutions. So it's really built over time. And also depends how team is set it up. And honestly speaking, if asked after this presentation that you already started pairing with another backend engineer, I'm already happy. Other questions?
Yuka,
Yes.
what happens where there's like a knowledge gap between, like, and both pairs don't really have the knowledge on a subject?
That is actually we recommend to not do it in the first place. So if both doesn't have the subject matter experts, and can you refine a little bit more your question, Richard? When you say people don't have the knowledge of the subject, is about they don't know what this story is meant to be built, or they both don't know the technology?
Yeah, so it's more around the technology. So I mean, I'm asking it because obviously us juniors are working together quite a lot. So there's often cases like where we don't know Hibernate, for example, and now we've both got to go and learn it, or there might be some other package that we don't understand how it works, and we're needing to use it.
Yeah, so the mix of the senior juniors is really important in the team, and the mix of the subject matter experts and domain experts is really important in the team. That's why you need an end-to-end delivery team, so having front-end engineer, back-end, so they can mix with each other.
Okay.
So, and at the early stage, when the project just started, definitely it's recommended to have the juniors and the pairing with the seniors more often, because there are certain areas they need to learn. They didn't know that, they didn't have the knowledge, and the knowledge gap needs to be covered. But it doesn't hurt from time to time if you are pairing between two juniors, as long as this code base can be reviewed, they carried on, and maintained by others as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Anyone has any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Yuka.
Yeah.
So sort of what you're talking about here, as far as kind of the I guess, driver navigator, the way that you talk about it is a little bit different to how I understood it. And it was that the navigator obviously does the navigating, does the kind of steering where to go and what to do. But will also kind of take a kind of side seat in, you know, Googling issues and stuff like that, trying to kind of find solutions to the problem that you're facing. Is that kind of how you would extend that as well?
That's called mob programming.
Uh-huh.
So mob programming is more than two people sitting together, typically 4 to 5, trying to solve a problem or establish a consensus in a limited time frame. Mob programming is an extensive version of pair programming that allows a team to agree upon certain direction by sitting together and solving the problem together. Then you will have, in the mobs programming setting, you will have only one laptop, one keyboard, and one mouse only. By definition, you will be rotating. So the one who is in the driving seat of writing code at that time frame, he or she carries on the role of driver, while the rest of the audience are navigators. And by definition, it is allowed for the navigator to also navigate through and finding solutions on the internet or finding code examples, etc., as references. But typically when you pair, it's not per se you can't use a second laptop to finding something else or find the information that can help the driver, because sometimes you both don't know, right? You also start searching on the web, which is totally fine. But try to keep is the main screen focused over the problem we are solving. Otherwise, you will steer your pairs into different directions. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. And the rules of the pair programming are not really strict, and you as a pair needs to feel comfortable about it and how to drive it and try to adopt it as your pair, your team feel comfortable with. Yeah. Other questions? I hope I made the topic clear. But
I've got one question.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I just want to find out what's the outcome goal of this. Is this to write more efficient code and problem solving, or is it to upskill everyone to kind of be full stack, or is it kind of both?
Well, pair programming has three purposes. The most important one is get team agreed on the common way of working established within the team, because that's the biggest issue we've seen in the engineering world. It's not about who is more efficient at writing code. We got excellent engineers. It's about how we work together. Second thing is about establishing the knowledge shared across the team. That's also we see that often the projects that the main knowledge remains 1 or 2 person, while the project team has 15 or 20 people, because the knowledge were not properly shared. And thirdly, is about quality. Quality comes to the practice if you apply TDD, if you follow definition of done, if you write your code according to code guideline. And we often see other practices such as a pull request. And by the way, pair programming, you can still use a pull request, nothing wrong with it. A pair who wrote a code and can ask another pair to give a second eye on it and trigger a pull request. But what happens in the normal conventional pull request is people don't talk to each other. They write words and end up in fighting between words. And you get code review in 2 types of consequences. And one is the people giving up and just agree on something for the sake of agreement. They didn't reach out to the point that actually there's a consensus established and the code is really on the level that everyone thinks, yes, we move on. And second is a sloppy code review. People say everything's okay. Pull request triggered 1 minute before, even less than a minute is got approved with a large code commit. So all these engineering practices, struggles that we all trying other way to solve, but in the end, is a human interaction and a decent communication. You know, we have this, we always say when teams started and the people need to get acquainted with each other and get to know each other, there are ways to enable this teamwork established quicker way than just wait for the team to build up the team written by themselves. So one way to establish the whole team way of working is pair programming. Getting people bonded naturally on their day-to-day business, on their tasks. So pair programming is a mindset to apply for the teamwork. I hope I answered your question, Ichian.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else have any questions? No? All right, thanks a lot for joining this session. If you have any questions afterwards, you can always reach me out and I will share the video after the Zoom. Yeah.
Thanks, Ika. Can you send out the slides as well?
Yes, I will share both slide and the recording.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank
Have a nice
you.
weekend.
Have a nice weekend.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Weekend.
Bye.